here.
Yeah, we are here and we are ready, and we are doing something a little different today ish. Have we done? We've done one author study before.
We have done author study. This one has been on our list for a
It
while
has. It
for
has.
several different topics,
Yeah.
several different conversation things that it could be categorized as. So the fact that it kind of came together this month is also another one of those themes.
Right. It just kind of worked well in the way that I was like, oh, it's on the list. It's been here for a while. It's one that we can tackle, and it's somebody that I don't know well at all or didn't, and it also helps that it's coming out in June. So it can't complain out of any of the things.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
will say, I did have to look up the pronunciation of the name just to make sure, right? Because
Okay,
I
good.
know how I was saying it.
That makes one of us because I was like, I'm sure I'm saying this wrong. I should look this up before we get on and talk about it. So I'm glad you did.
I looked it up. We'll see if it told me that we were right or wrong, but
Okay.
I'm going with what it says. And also I looked up like the little like pronunciation guide. That doesn't help me at all. I don't know why I thought it would. Right? Unless
It,
like
it should in theory. However,
right?
not at
Right?
this time.
So today, if you don't know who this is, we are introducing you to a gentleman named Ocean Vuong, which I absolutely love. Do you know where his name came from?
I did.
Do
I
you? Okay,
do.
you go. You
Yes.
go for it. I'll let you tell.
So, okay, so what I heard
What I
was,
heard.
which I couldn't find what his birth name was. But the story, as I read it, was that his mom was doing someone's nails and kept talking about wanting to go to the beach. But they are Vietnamese, and so she had a very heavy accent. And I think she kept pronouncing it bitch. And she kept saying that she was going to the bitch.
Right.
And the person whose nail she was doing suggested maybe saying ocean instead. Because she, like she was obviously having trouble and like, here's another word that you could use for that.
Yeah.
And so she looked up the word ocean, found out its meaning, and renamed her son.
Yes. So he had, like you said, a very Vietnamese name, and I got the last name correct. The first name, probably not so much. And I don't want to butcher it too bad, but I will try. So it's spelled VINH space QUOC. That is his first name. And then, like you said, his mother renamed him Ocean. And also given in reference to the fact that the ocean connects many things, and he connected many things for her, which actually goes right along with the book that I read, the work that I
Yes.
read by him. So I am excited to kind of get to that part, but I thought it was very interesting because I was like, how did we get the name Ocean? Like,
Right? Like that's
just where
so
did I?
it
And the fact that it came from his mom is great.
yes.
The fact that it came from
Yes.
his mother, I think, is because I mean, a lot of our parents gave us our names, and to have a name that was given to you and then given to you again, like to get a second,
And be like, when
second
I
chance
think
at
of
that,
this
right?
vast, massive body that, pulls together so many things and connects so many things, to then be like, hey, here's, what I think of you.
Yeah,
Like now that you're a person, because, right, we all get names before, like, and then we're like, you're not really, maybe that doesn't fit you as well. So
right.
I love that
And
story.
I've seen
Yes.
that I've read stories of people who are like, oh, we named our child this. And then as they grew, we realized that was, that was not it. Right. We definitely gave a name, we named our kid something that means warrior, and he's more, passive and a little bit more, heartfelt and things like that. So I've seen that happen before. I just think it's interesting that it has happened in this case. And I loved kind of reading about and learning a little bit about why that happened and where it came from. So
Yes.
not upset about it at all.
No, no. And we've honestly talked about reading poetry because did we just pass poetry month or is this
I want to
also
say,
poetry month?
I can't
I've
remember. It's close. It's in the realm. It's the poetry
it's
season.
in
It
our
is poetry
vicinity.
season.
Yeah,
Yes.
so we had seen this as a recommendation for poetry. We looked at this as an author study because he does have several works out. And I think what really flagged it for us is it's also June, so it's Pride Month, and
It
he
is.
is a queer author.
Yes.
And we were like, you know what? It's the trifecta. Like, we just,
We're doing it.
now's
It
the
just lines
time.
up. Lined up
Yes.
perfectly.
And this is not, we don't read poetry. This is not
Mm-mm.
something, I'll speak for myself. I do not gravitate towards poetry.
Not either.
And this has been definitely a different world for me. I've noticed that I have to change my cadence
Oh,
when
100%.
I read. And it's different for everything. So it's not like you can get your rhythm going and then you move on to the next one. Like, it is not. It and I was thinking, oh, a couple poems, like, cool, we'll just read through. Like, no.
It's
No.
not how we like consume. Not how we consume these usually.
It's not how we consume.
When you talk poetry, I think like my homeboy Shel Silverstein, right? Like that was my form of poetry. It was one that I loved. I have the original Where the Sidewalk Ends, like I have all that kind of stuff, but also I don't, as you said, don't really gravitate toward poetry typically.
Yeah.
I do follow a couple of authors on Threads who
Okay.
are, newer authors who
Hmm.
do share poetry. And I feel like, from a standpoint, my marketing hat on, feel like a standpoint of marketing your work, poetry lends itself very nicely to that sort of stuff. It's very aesthetic. It's very, there's a lot of imagery, but there's also so much purpose and power and passion and all of those P words into and feeling in what they're saying that you can really you could take just about anything you wanted from a lot of these words.
Hmm.
So it's been very interesting. What did you read?
So I actually read two. I
Oh,
did
you
dive
read
into
two?
two. I
Oh
did
my
read
gosh, look
two
at
of
you.
his. So I started with Time as a Mother, and that is the
Okay.
collection of poems. I believe that's his second collection of poems.
Hmm.
And it was very much paying homage to his mom. And I'm going to get these confused. I also read, I saw he had a novel. And I was like, oh, I'm very curious now that I've read the poems to
Right.
see like what the novel is like. And so I also read On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. Is that the one you read?
Ish. I did
Okay.
the audiobook.
I was
So,
thinking I should do the
yes. So
audiobook.
because he narrates it.
Oh, even better.
He right? And so I was like, okay, if I'm going to dive into this, like I'm right, poetry, okay. But then again, I saw the same thing you did. That was like, oh, we're going to dive into this. It's his first novel. I love that when I listened to it, I was going to just like grab it from the library and do the thing, but it was very much not available, right? Like checked
Oh,
out. It was checked out from the library. It was checked
interesting.
out on audiobook. Like, and we're talking like a 15-week wait. 15
Oh,
weeks
wow.
because that's how many people are lined up to read this thing. So I was like, you know what?
Okay.
I'm just like even reinstated my Audible like
Ooh, we went all
membership
out for
for the
this.
right. We did it for this, and then I was like, I want to
Yeah.
do it because he reads it, and
Okay.
I feel like there's something so special, especially when it comes to a
Hmm.
book or poetry, especially when it comes out of the author's mouth. And
Yeah.
so, because they know the inflection, the tone, the presence,
Hmm.
the whatever it was that they were writing it with, in order to then convey that to the reader or the listener
Yes.
in this case. And I think I will not lie to you. This was a lot heavier than I thought it was going to be.
It was so. Okay, before we jump into that. So
Yeah.
that's exactly what I was thinking when I was reading
Yeah.
the poetry, when I was
Yeah.
reading the first collection, not first collection, the first book, second
Right.
collection. Um, first verse, same as the first. Second verse, same as the first. Whatever. We'll get
Both
there.
things. Honestly, it's all poetry to me. It's fine.
Yeah, and as I was reading, I was like, okay, we have to change our cadence. Okay, we're reading slower, and I think this is going to sound very lame, but also my idea of poetry is like it rhymes. There's a cadence. It
Yeah.
goes together. Like, you know what I mean? So like we have that repetitive battle rhythm basically.
Right.
And this was not that. And so I
No.
did have to like reread a little bit. And I remember having that thought of like, this could be a really good one to experience as an audiobook
Mm-hmm.
because then you would get a smarter person who knows
No.
how this should be presented,
Right.
right? And
Right.
who better than the author? Like, that's even more
That's what I'm
incredible.
saying.
So I'm gonna go back now and find this on audio because that
Yeah.
sounds amazing.
I do recommend it. I mean, it was lovely to hear, but I will say, like I said, it was a little heavier, and even
Hmm.
in the novel, it felt poetic,
It
right?
was
It
very
felt
poetic,
like
yes.
the novel itself was poetry.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so I thought, and I heard, of course, because I read a little bit afterwards, and I found out that he really, this was 2019, right? And he's a young man, right?
He's very, yeah,
He's 36. How old am I? Yeah, he's 36.
yeah,
And so not like to have had all of these things done. This novel came out in 2019,
yeah,
right? Which
yeah,
again is not long ago, but what a ways ago.
yeah.
And apparently he struggled with grammatical tense because in Vietnamese there are no past participles.
Okay,
They don't
interesting.
exist in the language, and so because of that, he struggled a little bit with the way that he was writing it. But I also think that the way that he kind of put the things together and the thoughts and where he found the breaks and where he paused,
Yes.
especially in listening to it, made a lot of effort on emphasis, and you
Hmm.
kind of knew where to breathe along with him. You knew where the power was supposed to be and where the feeling
Yeah.
was really supposed to be, and there were certain, I mean, there are certain parts of that novel that are just, they're hard to listen to,
Hmm.
but you also feel like you're sitting in the room with his grandmother as he's taking the gray hair out of her,
Yes.
out of her head because she wants to be young again. And like, it was so interesting because you're not just getting the words, you're getting the culture and you're getting the experience, and not just his, but everybody's. And part of the time I
Hmm.
felt like it's not only his story, right? It's he's seeing it, but it's definitely not his story. It's a culmination of all of the stories that make up who he is and who the women in his
Yes.
life are. At least
I
that's how I
think
saw it.
yes, yeah, no, I think you definitely kind of got that feeling that I was also feeling. It felt less of like this is being narrated to you. I'm
Yeah,
telling
no,
you this story.
no.
It felt more like you were sitting in a family room listening to stories told of like, oh hey, remember when you were little, or oh hey, remember when your grandma did this, like
Mm-hmm.
it felt more like a reminiscing,
Yeah.
a memory,
Mm-hmm.
rather than just a black and white story,
Yeah, it felt
which was
important.
amazing, which was
Yes.
amazing.
Yes.
Just having the I I actually said that it was a lot heavier
Mm-hmm.
than I think we thought we were getting. Like, we had no idea what we were getting into, but I will
No.
say there's so much beauty in destruction.
Oh yeah.
Like when you see, like when they were showing all the raging fires here in LA, like there was something, like, yes, it was scary, and also like just beautiful to look at, and you're like, this is deadly, like, we
Yeah.
like, do not touch, do not
Yeah.
like, this
Dude,
cannot
you're
be
getting
these
too
two
close,
things.
right?
Yeah, but this was many lots of emotion
Yeah. And
all balled up, and it just felt like what it means to be a human.
yeah. And I think seeing it from, because you start off the book and he's young, right?
Hmm.
And so you start off from that perspective of, oh, I'm hearing these things said by adults, and here's how this is how I interpret them. This is how I interpret them in a world where I don't speak the
Yes.
language. This is where, there are certain cultural things, like when, what was it? Oh, he's talking to one of the women, right, at the store or whatever. And he's like explaining the way that he was born, basically. But in Vietnamese culture, it's not polite to talk about certain functions.
Hmm.
And because of that, he was told a different way. So then in English, he comes out and he's like, oh, it came out of my mom's butt. And she's like, what? Like, just that, the difference, like, there were some moments of levity where you're like, that is hilarious. But also, it pulls on those strings of, like, we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
And then for mom to be, because mom, I don't think mom ever spoke English well from what it seems.
No.
She was never literate in
Mm-mm.
English at all. She did,
No.
certain things.
She
She was able to
tried.
have
Gave
small
it a good try.
conversations, right? Good college try. But he definitely had to do all of those things and kind of that's a lot of responsibility for a small human,
For a, yeah, for a
right?
child. Also trying to figure things out because it's not like he was
Yes.
fluent himself.
No,
This
no,
was
not at all.
not, no, no, no. It was
No, and
crazy.
so you're like living, experiencing things alongside him. So like school and like, trying to figure out what it looks like to be part of a new culture, and then you have to go home to a culture that is familiar but that doesn't quite fit what you just came from. And so it's the balance of that. I feel like there's so much more life that people with dual cultures get to live because they have those two different things that are completely different sides of a coin, or even just, it's a dice, right? It's a
Yeah.
die of some sort where there's so many different sides, and they get to roll more than once. And I just think it's so interesting to have heard that from his perspective, and then also mom's perspective and grandma's perspective, and just the whole history. It's all, there's so many things in there. And again, this is not my typical genre, not even just poetry, but this more autobiographical kind of information, not usually what I read.
Right.
And so I thought I feel like I was getting hit on many sides where I was like, all of this is new and I don't necessarily dislike it.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's funny because it has been things that have been swirling very much around us.
Yeah.
We've gotten the recommendations to look it up. It keeps popping up on like my, hey, you might like this if you
Yeah.
enjoyed this. And so it's like we've kind of been circling. I really like, I enjoyed the raw humanness of this, and I think more of some of the little nuanced things, because it's stuff that, like you were saying, we as plain old American citizens, like,
Yeah.
we don't have
Single
that.
culture humans.
Yeah, like we don't get that experience, and I could see it both as a blessing and a curse for someone who is coming over. I loved the story he told when they were at the thrift shop, and she would hold up like clothes and say, "Does this make
Oh,
me look American?"
right.
And I'm like, that's not things that we would think. Like, I would never think of that. Maybe, when you go to Europe and you're like, I don't want to look like an American. Do I look, but in that kind of aspect, I liked that. And then to go on, and she was like, is this fireproof?
Right.
And like, to
Heartbreaking.
understand why. And, he told the story of him jumping out to scare his mom, because that's like what they did in American culture.
Yeah.
And just, it terrified her because she
Yeah.
had come from a different place, a different time where that was not, fun
Expected
and
or
exciting.
no.
Yeah, it was like life threatening and scary. And so to see even the differences between himself and his mom and his grandma, like,
Yeah.
just to see how much that changes, even just being within, it's almost like a nature versus nurture type thing. You kind of get into. So yeah, definitely, like, so beautiful, so
Yeah.
deep, so like, and I'm not mad about it. Like, I'm like, this is
Oh, no,
not
not
what
at
we
all.
usually listen to or look for or dive into, but also pretty amazing. And I'm very excited to like keep going.
Yeah.
Definitely gonna look up the audiobook. So you listened to the novel?
I did. I listened to the novel, but I also, like, I know when he was writing or when he wrote um, On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, but right before it came out, I want to say just a couple months before it came out, his mother got diagnosed with breast cancer and she passed. Also in 2019. So the book was published in 2019 and she also passed in 2019. And then when he was in mourning, he wrote Time is a Mother, which is another collection of poems. So I
Yes.
kind of want to read that one next because I
That's the
didn't.
one I read.
Yes. And so that's
Yes.
like, you read that first and then you
I read that
Briefly
first.
Gorgeous.
Yes.
So
I read them different.
tell me
The
more.
The book of poems, I did look up to see because they are very, I want to say dark, but not in a negative way.
Yeah.
Like you could just tell he was working through some stuff.
He was grieving. Yeah.
And this is what came out of it. And there was one that still sticks out to me, and he was talking about his best friend was transgender, and he had the line, he said, my friend had to lose a piece of himself to feel whole. And I was like, holy
Yeah.
crap. Like the heaviness behind that, but also like the power
The freedom of.
that it puts in
Yeah.
the punch. And
Yeah.
it gives you, like, you know exactly what's going on. You know exactly what's happening. You know exactly how to feel. You know exactly how they both feel. And yet, it's such a simple sentence.
Yeah.
But there's so much, like, when you read between the lines with it.
So much packed in there.
And that's what stood out to me with his poems. Like, it was beautiful. It was deep. It was harrowing. It was like all of these things, and I don't regret any of it. It was spectacular, and I'm like, this is someone, I feel like this would make like a charismatic leader, like someone who can put things so succinctly and make you feel so much without
Okay.
beating you over the head with it. Like, this is how you're supposed to feel. It's like, here are the words, and I'm guiding you,
Yeah.
and you know exactly where I'm going with it. So it was impressive. I definitely, like, wow.
I think there's something very interesting to be said for authors who can share a story without having to make it be a declaration of something.
Yeah.
Especially when we're writing. I mean, I think a lot of again, I don't read a whole lot of autobiographical stuff or biographical stuff, but what I do, there's a significant difference between the authors who have put together, their writing or their retelling or whatever it might be, in a way that just shares the information and just puts it out there, and it's like, here are the things that I've recognized, do with it what you will, versus those that are trying to literally guide you into, like, get to this place. So I think it's really interesting because I don't necessarily feel like he was leading me anywhere, but I
No.
definitely feel like he was working behind the scenes to, like, click some locks, right? And be like,
Yeah.
unlock, unlock, unlock. Like, just the fact that there were so many, and I know that there are differences in the way that we are all raised and the experiences that we have. And you both feel so bad for his mother and his grandmother. Like, you have that heart wrenching, like, that feeling where you're like, I just want to pick you up and hold you and just be like, it's okay, like, I will help you. But at the same time, you also get that sense of power and determination and strength and all of those things where you're like, got it, you don't need to be picked up, it's cool, I would like to learn from you. Like, that balance and that sway from story to story, from line to line, was so interesting. And I almost felt like I needed a nap after listening. Like, I would listen for a little while and I was like, okay, I need to go do something else for a few minutes because this is heavy. Like, I needed to process what I was listening to.
Yes.
And I don't hate that, but there's not a lot of books that I read that do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's kind of how I started with the book of poems, Time as a Mother. I just dove right in, and I was like, okay, we're like, let's read some of these. Like, let's just dive right in. And I caught myself, like, my eyes would just well up with tears, and you're like, I don't know that I even feel sad, but just like, just moved, I guess. Is like, so I don't have the words. I do not have the words. Like, this is definitely something that I think everybody should experience. And like I said, this is my first foray into poetry. So I don't know if all poetry is like this. I don't know what the rules are. I have no idea. But this, like, I think everybody should read. pick something up by Ocean for sure.
Yeah, just to experience it, because there is a reverence there that I don't think is seen in very many other things that we read. And I'm with you on the poetry side. Don't know if that's normal or if this is just well done, right?
Right? I'm like,
And it's
did I
not going to
just
be
get spoiled?
it's not going to be for everyone, but I
No.
definitely recommend trying it.
Yeah.
Right, I recommend giving it a try, whether it is the poetry, whether it is the audiobook, whether it is the novel itself. Just pick it up and see, because
Yeah.
it just feels, and I don't know that I could give it a rating per se, because it almost feels bigger than a rating, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. It almost feels
Yeah.
like, I love rating books. I don't know that I could rate this, because it just seems like it's in a class of its own. And so if I were to read other things, maybe I could start doing that. But I just don't think that the way I've designed my rating scale in my brain matches with what I can put to this. And that's okay. It's a little bit okay, to refreshing almost, to have something that's so to the side, where I was like, oh, this has definitely changed the way I see a couple things.
Yeah. Which, you know, in essence would be 5 stars for
It would be
us.
5 stars. Yeah, it
You
would
know,
be.
because
But it
that
just,
is, but it's not the same scale for this versus the other one. And so I actually, I had the same thought. And I was like, I mean, this is a life-changing, world-changing book for me. And maybe that is because it's my first dive into poetry. You know, maybe this is just, I'm going to be spoiled and like that none of them are like this. But it made me curious. So I did dive in to see how other people rated it.
right.
And I
I
saw,
didn't look.
I did after because I was like, oh, I like, I don't have the words to express like just the magnitude of what he wrote, and
Right.
anything I say will not do it justice. So that's why I'm not like, I'm like, words are hard.
Right. Like, I feel like writing a review of something that's so
Like, just read it.
interestingly written. Yeah, just
Let it
like that would be
explain
the review.
itself. I cannot do this any more justice. So I did. I went and to see what other people had rated it, how they reviewed it, like what they were thinking, because I love seeing what other people are thinking.
Right.
And a lot of people felt the same way. They were like, I mean, I don't know that I could give this anything less than 5 stars because, like, just wow. But also, like, other people also did not have the words for it. Like, I was reading it and I'm like, yeah, that's not really doing it justice. And I'm, you know, I know that I don't have the words to to tell you like how amazing this is and how I think everybody should experience it, because it just will not do it justice. So, go read, pick
Right.
one.
Did you know that his book, The Emperor of Gladness, was actually added to Oprah's book club in May of this year?
I was going to say that I think that's his newest
Yeah.
one, and I think that's why his name was
I
swirling
think so too.
again,
Yeah.
because of that one coming out. And I did not read that one because I do not have a copy of that one. And I was like,
I
oh,
do
I
not.
have the others that we had briefly
Yeah.
talked about, or, you know, as preparation from prior. So I was like, I'm
Yeah.
going to read these. So no, I didn't. But I would be curious, is that one a novel as well, or is that another poem collection?
I think that one is a novel. So his two
Okay.
novels are On Earth We Were Briefly Gorgeous and Emperor of Gladness. But that, like I said, that one just came out in 2025. And then the poetry is Night Sky with Exit Wounds and Time is a Mother.
Yes.
And then there are two chapbooks, which I actually don't know what a chapbook is. So maybe you do. But those are Burnings and No.
Okay, interesting, because when I looked him up, I did a little bit of research too. After I was like, first of all, I need to know how to how to pronounce your
Right.
name, so that I'm not doing this, you know,
An
unjust.
Injustice. Yep.
And so I did look up, and his link in his Instagram bio takes you to a New York Times article, but not a normal like article where it's just like
Yeah.
this. It's like the page refreshes and then there's some more stories and then you swipe to the side and there's photos, and it's
Oh.
actually talking about when his mom died, and his half brother came to live with
Yes.
him
Yes,
because
because they
he
lived
had
together
never
in
been
that
on
way.
his own before. He had always been with his mom. I think he was 22 when that happened.
Jeez.
So he came to live with his brother, and like how they were figuring each other out,
Yeah.
and like, you know, how that life looked. But I'm wondering if maybe that's what's considered a chat book, because it was very different.
I'm literally looking it up. A chapbook is it's weirdly spelled Chapbook,
Oh,
like
a
chap,
chat.
like a
Okay.
good day, chap. And then I don't
Okay.
know where that came from. And then sure, we'll go with it. It's a small, usually inexpensive book or booklet, often containing poems, stories, or other literary works. They're typically short, portable, and designed to be affordable and accessible.
Okay.
Often sold by street vendors or through specific presses. And it does list the specific publishers, which are different from your usual, like Penguin or whatever. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's, you've got Sibling Rivalry Press and Yes Yes Books, which is funny because No is published by Yes Yes Books, which I think is interesting. But apparently a
Excellent.
chapbook is a
Is
small
it
book. It is wee.
okay?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I also went back and looked because I was like, there have to be other poetry things that I have read. And I mean, I guess technically the Canterbury Tales are considered poems. I think there's two stories that are not.
Okay.
But those, like, I'm that weird person who's like, yes, I can read that. That's fine. And have tried to read them. And I have certain ones that I really enjoy. But I never got through the whole thing. Like, I got through all this, but I definitely never got through the other part.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
interesting that,
This.
I don't know. I think it's cool that we were able to experience this and had very similar
Mm-hmm.
takeaways from it.
Yeah.
And also, it's not going to stop me from reading more of his stuff and even things that maybe he has recommended, or, you know, if he has any, you know, inspiration, you know, people that are inspiring to him. I would love to see that kind of thing, because I think it just takes a very creative brain to get to this place where you can put
Yes.
something together that's so moving in text or
Yeah.
just by saying it out loud, right?
With not many words. Like that
Yeah.
was. That's my huge takeaway. Is like, the words are few, but the feelings are many.
Oh,
Like,
100%. I
you know,
feel like I need that on a t-shirt. The words are few, but
I,
the feelings are
I
many.
that just
Fair.
rolled off. So that is my one
Perfect.
claim to fame now.
We're
But yeah,
putting it on a t-shirt.
that's right. That's exactly how it felt for me. This was amazing. And honestly, I think also too, this podcast that we're doing has, I, I don't want to say forced, but like we are looking at other things, because it's like, oh wait, there's so much more out there that we could be experiencing.
Yeah.
And it's very cool to be able to experience this kind of stuff, this newness, new things live,
Yeah.
you know?
Thanks for being here to be able to talk about it with, because I can
Yeah.
see myself reading it and then being like, what the heck
What
did I
do I do
just
with
do?
this? Yes.
What do I do with all these feelings? Like,
Yeah. No.
like
Okay,
what do I do with them
great.
now?
Now what? Yeah.
Now what? But it's very interesting to do that and to be able to reach a little bit farther past my safe space.
Yes.
Because reading to me is
Yes.
a safe space, right? It is
Mm-hmm.
it is a place that I go to feel better, to feel comforted, to feel feelings, to and now apparently to learn new things about a whole world that I had no idea or didn't have insight into. I feel like we kind of got a little, you know, peek into that,
Mm-hmm.
and it was very interesting to see where that goes and what the experience looks
Yes.
like from different eyes.
So I'm very curious, because this is how we experience things. We experience things together, and then we like to talk about that with other people.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm curious, have any of you heard about Ocean? Have you read Ocean? Are you diving into Ocean now?
Nicely done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are we
Sometimes words
behind?
are
Are we
good.
behind? Like, have we
Yeah.
just missed this? Have we missed this wave, or are we riding it along with everybody else?
Yeah, yeah. Where are you guys at in this process? Have you experienced poetry before? Is this typical?
Is it your
Or,
genre?
you know,
And are we
what are we
just missing it?
missing? I feel like the door has just like been slightly opened, and now it's
Right.
like we're peeking in going, there's so much more to explore.
Would love to incorporate more of that into future reading. So anything that you all can recommend, we are here to listen to.
I'm looking up. Hold on. I want to know. I want to know when is Poetry Month, because
perfect. Because if it's June
did we
or
miss
May.
it? Oh, it's April.
Oh, see, it's spring. I said it's the season. It's the season of poetry.
It's the season. Yes.
'Tis the season of poems.
We're not late. We're early for next year.
We can do that too. I'm in. That's fine. I know we looked at it, we were like, maybe we'll get there. So, loved this journey. Excited for more. Yes. Excited for more Ocean. And what better time to read it than the summer?
Right? It's perfect.
Exactly. So, thank you all for being here. If you have not already, subscribe in 25 and hit all the buttons. We appreciate you being here.
Give us some thumbs up.
Exactly. Let us know.
No, it's not gonna
comment-wise. Just like it's not happening again.
It's not happening.
Let us know if there are other things that you would recommend that we read for future episodes. We have our ongoing list. We will never run out of things to read, but we are happy to take recommendations or suggestions.
Recommendations,
right?
Because we want to know. Like, I think that's the best way to experience something with a friend.
And we've got some travel coming up, some summertime, some pool sitting. So give us your reads. What is it that we should be incorporating into our stuff? And it can be anything, right? We're clearly stepping into the world of poetry. So what other realms do we want to jump into?
Apparently, we're real readers now.
Right? And do coloring books count? No, I'm just kidding.
Are Mad Libs? Does Mad Libs count as becoming an author?
Maybe an editor.
We'll debate that one on the next one.
That'll be a next episode. So thank you for being here, and until we see you again next week, happy reading.
Ta-ta.
Ta-ta.
Toodles.
Adios. It was great to have you join us for today's chat. If you'd like to continue the conversation, provide a recommendation, or simply say hi, pop over to Instagram at wine.read.wine, or leave us a comment on our YouTube channel. We'll see you on the next episode. Happy reading!